Hiya! So thanks for joining today. I guess it's going to be the first video where I talk about something that actually interests me, other than all this stuff. So, background. Start of the year I decided to do something this year, which was to work my way through the AFI, the American Film Institute's top 100 films of all time. Now, turns out I'd already seen about 38 of them, which is pretty good going, so I was quite happy with that. But there's still lots to watch, particularly some films I'd never heard of before, never seen, and I figured I'd give them a go, see what's out there. I figured since they're on the top 100 they can't be bad, they have to be things that you should at least see. Now as it turns out that's not necessarily the case, because some of the films I really have struggled with, one in particular, but still worth watching, and I'm glad to say that I have watched it. So the films I watched this last week, I watched 3 films. Firstly I watched On the Waterfront, which I think is 1954, and I watched Network from 76, and the last film was Nashville, which I believe was from 75. I mean, I've got those last 2 mixed up, but I think that's about right. So, talk about On the Waterfront first. Love this film, absolutely fantastic. It's a wonderful film. Obviously black and white, Marlon Brando, a new favourite actor of mine who I discovered in 12 Angry Men, which is Lee J. Cobb. I think Lee J. Cobb is outstanding. He was outstanding in this film as the main gangster boss. And it's a story of Marlon Brando character, who is a sort of boxer type, enforcer type guy for the mob, who has to review his situation in life. So I'm not going to do any spoilers, even though these films are, without exception, over 40 years old. Just in case you haven't seen them, like I haven't, and you don't want to have them spoiled. On the Waterfront is, like I said, a story of a boxer who, it's going to sound like quite a familiar story now, but it's one of the original films that did it, who enforces for the mob, and particularly around the docks. So basically deciding who works, who doesn't work on the docks. And he isn't the brightest tool, not the sort of sharpest tool in the box. And he has to come to some kind of realisation of what he wants to do with his life. The thing to say about the film is, it's masterfully acted. The directing is fantastic. I really appreciated the film, and I can't say enough to recommend it. It's really enjoyable watch for a film that isn't, it's not all guns and violence. There's an awful lot of talking, a lot of metaphors and stuff in the film. It really is a great film to watch, and for me, I couldn't say enough about it. So, On the Waterfront, I gave On the Waterfront a really excellent 8 out of 10. Great film, really worth a look. Then let's talk about Nashville. So Nashville was a struggle. It's just under 3 hours, about 2 hours 40 minutes long. Again, it's the story of a sort of, both Nashville and Network I'm quite pleased to have seen in 1 week, because they're both post-Watergate, 1970s type affairs. A lot of politics within it, a lot of sort of that kind of political intrigue that you got in the mid-70s, very clearly running through the film. There's an overwhelming sense that both films are post-Watergate, and you can really feel that. I didn't live through the Watergate period, so for me it's not something that that I can particularly get on with. There's nothing I can relate back to there. There's nothing in my past that says, oh yes, I remember that, I remember how that was. So for me there's no nostalgia factor to the films. So I'm coming into them purely as, with the good films. Nashville I really struggled with. For me it was a difficult film to watch. It was very long. I know it's a satirical film. It's viewed as a satirical masterpiece, particularly within the States, and I thought it was good. It was a really good film. It had some decent parts to it. It had some really interesting roles, interesting cameos. I thought the casting was really very good. I can't remember the actress's name, but she's the one that famously had that massive falling out on set. And she was in the West Wing. She played Debbie Fidder in the West Wing. Anyway, she was she was outstanding. Really great in her role. So cute back then as well. Lovely looking woman. And she so the film as a whole, I like certain bits. I like some of the stories. There are so many stories weaving through the film that you could appreciate the work that went into it. I think that's the key thing for me. I could certainly appreciate the work that went into it. I appreciate the kind of film it was, but as an enjoyable experience, I struggled. I really just struggled to get through the entire film. But I'm able to do it because it's on my list. Had it not been on my list, I may not have made it all the way to the end. Anyway, third film. Not my favourite. My favourite's On the Waterfront, but clear second place goes to Network. So Network is a story of a TV news anchorman who basically is being let go from his role, goes on air for the last time, and just, goes a bit crazy. We'll do it live, that kind of stuff. So he goes a bit crazy on air, and you're in this world of TV sort of moguls, producers who are desperately searching for that next big thing. You've got a failing network, a network needs to pick up in the ratings. Desperately, all they care about is airtime. They just care about what share of the audience we're getting, what's our key demographic. It's purely mercenary. And Faye Dunaway is, she puts in a great performance. For me, Faye Dunaway was easily one of the standouts of the film. I thought she was excellent in the film. And I know I'd seen her previously when I was growing up in stuff like Supergirl, which probably isn't the biggest ringing endorsement of her acting career. But you can see, she has that sort of, that very mercenary outlook on her life, just out for what she can get, and particularly out for what she can do to promote herself in the best way possible. So yeah, it had some really interesting motifs. Again, absolutely, pounding on the door with its post Watergate sort of atmosphere within the film. But it was really very interesting to watch. I felt it had a bit of a lull in the middle. For me, it started really strongly, as it will do when the shock value of a news anchorman going off script, going crazy on air, basically just spouting sort of inflammatory rhetoric on air. That's the kind of thing that's going to get people going. And it's a really good start to the film. For me, it sort of lagged a little bit in the middle, but then came together really well at the end. I thought the end was excellent right up until the very end, which I think I get the point of the very end of the film. Again, I won't spoil anything about it, but the last sort of event of the film it's discussed so matter-of-factly in its preparation. And if you've seen the film, you know what I mean. The preparation for the end of the film, it's so matter-of-fact. It's hard to believe no one in the room said, "Really? Really? We're doing this?" And that was something that I was waiting for. I was waiting for someone to say, "Oh, but we're just joking, right? This isn't the truth, we're just joking." And it never happened. Which I thought was odd. But there we go. Anyway, so those are the three films I watched. I thought they were outstanding, really good films, with the exception of Nashville, which was, I think, just good. I think, I give Nashville about a 6 out of 10. For me, Network was 7.5 out of 10, something right there. Definitely not as good as On the Waterfront. Then, I saw two other films this week, not on my list. First film I saw this week, which was Eddie the Eagle. Now, I really liked Eddie the Eagle. I thought Eddie the Eagle had a lot to recommend it. I think for me, it skated a line of being sort of schmaltzy, over the top, it really flirted with it. It had a real sort of, for me, a bit of a Richard Curtis feel about it. It really flirted with that line of being, of crossing a line into, you know, its nostalgia factors and the degree to which you sort of sympathise with the lead character. I thought the acting again in the film was great. It had some really funny moments. I would describe it as a good, fun, feel-good film. The feel-good factor in the film was relentless, absolutely relentless. Even when something goes bad, this is absolute optimism to the main character, which is, you know, for me it was really quite addictive. The main character's optimism, Eddie the Eagle's optimism was so inspiring, and there's such an opportunity for that to get cheesy. I find that kind of stuff very cheesy very quickly, and like I said, it came really close, but it never quite got there. I think if I didn't know this was a true story, I think I would have felt very differently about it. The fact that it's a true story, I know they took some liberties with the story, but the fact that it's a true story, based on a true story, the fact that this event really happened, this is a guy who genuinely did capture the imagination of people at the time, for me that kept it on the line of being acceptable. I think it would have gone too much the other way if there'd been too much in the way of, if it was a fictional story, I think you would have said, oh, this isn't possible, this isn't going to happen. You know, even then, there are little bits when you know, Eddie steals his dad's van, and you just think, I might call the police on my son at that point. I think you've got very indulgent parents here. So I think Eddie had a lot of positivity, a lot of courage to go and do what he did, and I think the film portrayed that. I do feel like as a parent, you might have wanted to rein him back in a little bit more. It seems he was pretty much allowed to do basically whatever he wanted to. But there you go. What are you going to do? Great film. For me, 7 out of 10. Really enjoyable film. 7 out of 10. And then the last film I watched this week, on the weekend, went to the cinema, I watched La La Land, like everyone's going to do. So, let me come out and say this. I really don't like musicals. You can't actually persuade me to watch most musicals. I have watched Les Miserables. I haven't seen Moulin Rouge. I think Grease is a travesty, even though I am a travesty. Grease is a travesty, but you know, whatever. I didn't go in there with overly high expectations. I think when you get this thing of, oh, critics are going to love this, critics say this is the best film ever, for me I kind of set my expectations to one side going into these kind of films, because you know, critics are critics and they do what they do. I often find I don't necessarily agree with them, so set my expectations to one side. I went in there knowing it's a musical, that helps, so I kind of prepped myself thinking, okay, everyone said it's great, it's a musical, let's give it a go, let's see how good it is. And to be honest, I was swept up in it. I was genuinely swept up in it. I think Emma Stone is incredible in the film. I think she is by far and away the absolute standout of the film. Ryan Gosling is good. He's not great, he's good. Yeah, Emma is fantastic. She's absolutely top quality. And what she does in the film, in the way she portrays that role, I think is outstanding. And the film does have flaws. It's not a flawless film. For me, there were some, I know technically I've read some people who've pointed out things about the film. I just got swept up in the whole emotion of the film. I got swept up in the dance pieces. I got swept up in the songs. For me, I can forgive pretty much everything that went on in the film. Anything that I saw that was bad. I'd actually watched. I watched Screen Junkies. I'd already seen Mark and Draco on Screen Junkies movie fights. Just tear La La Land a new one. And you know, for me, Scott Mance's his face as that was happening, I understand how he felt now. I can see what Mark was saying. You've got to have a heart, and I think I just checked all of that at the door, went in, got swept up for from the first musical number, dancing on the freeway. It was incredible, and I haven't enjoyed myself that much. Genuinely enjoyed myself that much in a movie for quite some time. And I've watched, I watched Rogue One, and I've watched other films, and there's been plenty of stuff on that I really enjoyed. But this was a purely emotional reaction of, I love this film. And I remember thinking about halfway through, I love this film. I shouldn't do, but I do. This has captured me. Anyway, so La La Land, I've got to give it a 9 out of 10. I thought it was great. Not perfect, great. 9 out of 10, solid film. Recommend it to everyone. Even if you don't like musicals, and I really don't like musicals. But I thought this was great. Anyway, so that's what I watched on film in the last week. I might do these more in future. I've got a lot more films to get through, particularly the older films on the AFI list. And if it's of interest, then great, let me know. Let me know if you've got any comments. I try and reply to all my comments if I can. That's because there aren't very many of them. So, it's quite easy to keep on top of. But I'll do that as much as I can. And anything anyone wants to know about me, what I do, by all means ask me. Let me know if you've got any questions, and I'll be happy to answer as best I can. Okay, see you soon. Bye. Bye.